Today on Drawbli,
we're looking at the art of Lesia Louu.
Abby, what was it that, oh my god, I was going to say, what was it that drew you to this artist, but I think I can see already.
Yes. This artist loves an environment.
Oh my god, there are so many cool things happening in this artwork with color, with texture, with shape design, with focus. I mean, there are too many for me to point out in one image, so I just want to call out a couple cool things. Like this glitchy effect going on in a few areas that hints at texture. There are a lot of different textures happening. There's a really cool edge shape of these different highlighted colors happening in different areas, like almost splatter-like effects. There is really great contrast and focus happening with the train car being in this more rendered sharp red, blue everywhere else, warm and cool. So many cool things.
Yeah, it reads really clean.
Yes.
But at the same time, we have so much happening. Look at all the things that are happening in this area of reflection. Look just even at this portion of the sky where if we
I have a brush like that.
too much, yeah, we're like, oh, is a tentacled creature coming out of the sky? No, it's just,
Some texture.
The shape language of the sky, and the glitching really melds well with the snow. And this portfolio is just chock full of gorgeous environment pieces that I'm so excited to share.
This image still has a lot of the same ideas going on, but it's a lot more sharp. This artist does so many cool things with shape design and texture. I feel like normally when I look at an artist's work, I can maybe pick out 3 different interesting pieces of shape design and texture that they use for certain effects. But this artist is I can't even count how many they are using. If you take a look at some of the shapes happening for the back of that sign, the texture of the wood, not just the reflection on the clock, but this colorful, almost reflection happening for the back shape, the lights, the weird colorful reflections on the metal, oh my god, just so many cool things happening here.
Just breaking down a single bar stool here.
Yeah.
We see that it's round and shiny, and the light emitted from these lamps is so distinct and character.
The way that's cast on the table, creating these unique shapes. Oh my god.
The intentional slight variation on perfect proportion that gives us kind of this very motion-esque feel to a lot of things. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, this is so amazing.
So this specific piece comes from a series they did illustrating the life, I think it was maybe a school project, of this architect
Ooh, okay.
who is very lonely, and he meets a dog, but there are many themes in this body of work of isolation and then love, opening up your world a bit and providing more warmth. I did not pull every piece they had on their art station from this series, so if you want to see the full extent of that,
check it out at the
link below. Check it out at the link below.
Look for the story of the loneliness.
Yes, the story of the loneliness. Yes, but this is just a fun image with a lot of architect details.
Yeah, I love that. Ooh, and I love getting to see a sketch. So I love also getting to see what kind of pencil brush people use when they are sketching. And this one clearly has a lot of texture to it. I have started gravitating away from a pencil that has a lot of texture. What about you?
I tend to still stick with a textured pencil, but that's because I really like my sketches to just shine through. They're not really guiding the way for me as much as they are the way. So they're part of the work.
Yeah, I agree. I like to have my sketch be a part of my work as well.
I love when an artist is just I'm going to create a bunch of paintings within a painting.
Yeah.
And they're still going to look awesome. Each and every one of them has its own lovely little elements. I mean, this could all be referenced from, and probably is, from a very real wall of paintings and artwork.
I would guess so.
I would guess so. No need to recreate the wheel.
Yeah.
They loved, obviously, to use a window shining in from one side.
Yeah, I saw that in that previous image, that second one we looked at as well.
I like looking at this dried flower bouquet over here.
That's awesome.
Isn't that really nice?
Man, there are So many good things happening in these. Like, look at all these cool shapes in the door over there. Like, oh my God, I could just stare at these endlessly.
And this is so delightful to me. Like, this is just, it's the perspective on this is so deliberately wonky,
Yeah.
but the shapes are so clean that you feel like it's very, very forgivable. I don't know how well the deliberately wonky perspective style would work with a much more like painterly soft style. I feel like we wouldn't like that as much.
I feel like you're maybe onto something there.
You know? And not to mention the horizon line, like curving across the top there.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah, there's definitely some kind of flattening happening here, like almost inverse foreshortening in some regards. But yeah, I like how they still have that texture reigning through the whole thing. This is beautiful.
Yeah.
The Mistake. New Tales of the Little Mermaid.
Here we see a more like kind of dreamy feel, but we're also underwater, so that makes sense. I like this plein air painting a lot.
A plein air painting of a plein air painting.
Yes, well, and especially, you know, this is physical plein air, but we're working with a digital media, which is just a kind of fun thing too.
Yeah, I think the more simple the subject matter, I'm not sure if we'll get more simple than this, but the more you can pick up on an artist's art style, you know, you can find more of the techniques and tools that they're using. So it's cool to like look at this pretty simple ground happening here, even though it is quite complex in my opinion, and start to pick out some of these elements that they are using. Like the mixer brush, like being used to stretch some of that shape there. It looks like this piece here was straight like cut and pasted from a different part of the image and then they painted over it. I'm not exactly sure. Like there's a lot going on. And this is another great example, I think, where we could start to pick out some of those elements. There's definitely some, I think, lasso tool happening to make these shapes up here with the leaves, if I had to guess.
I would think so.
And then painting that light there, that effect is so cool.
Yeah, I feel like we're seeing a fair amount of lasso tool, and I love to see, but with a ton of brushwork as well. It's a really cool combination.
Yeah.
Yeah, this image is so pretty. I really like that. I thought this was fun to include. They're holding their iPad, which has their drawing.
And we're looking at their artwork on a screen of a plein air painting of a plein air painting.
Yes. And it appears that they've used Procreate, which I always find very encouraging because sometimes I feel like these big artists, like, oh, they're using like the most advanced software of Photoshop and stuff. But it's always encouraging to see an artist work really, really, really well with Procreate when that's what we happen to utilize and have access to.
I won't lie here. Procreate's great. Like Procreate is
powerful.
It's not I won't say it's just as good as Photoshop, but it pretty much is. There's only a few things that I wish Procreate had that Photoshop does in terms of painting tools. The main issue with Photoshop is that it has just become increasingly bloated over the years. So it is used for digital painting a lot, but it's not the best digital painting tool in my opinion.
And as somebody who hasn't used Photoshop, like it's incredibly intimidating to approach. Like it feels like a very, very, very steep learning curve that I would want to spend, be willing to dedicate quite a bit of time to learning.
Absolutely. For me, Photoshop is like a third arm. It feels like my best friend. It's always open on my computer. I never close it, and it's always there for me. This feels very different from what we've looked at so far.
Yeah, we might be digging into slightly earlier work here, but even for this artist, we still see these very clean shapes, a window that's lighting things. They love a hanging light. I feel like we're learning a lot about what this artist loves to reference to, which is the same sorts of like spaces and moments that I personally feel very drawn to.
Yeah.
So I love seeing this.
I think the colors that they're using here feel a little different, and if I had to be more specific, I might say that I see a lot more gradients here than what I saw in their previous work.
Something I didn't know until I was looking at this about how light works is look how we're brightest, kind of farthest from these light sources. On the table is what I'm talking about. As we get farther and farther away, either we have another light source coming from the side here, but I'm just wondering if that's like an element or a quality of light that I just was
It's
unaware
not.
of.
It's absolutely not. There's something called the inverse square law, which I won't get into. But as as the surface gets further away from a light source, it obviously becomes darker because it's further away. So there's some other light source, or this is just a stylistic approach, or we're combining the light from the bulb with the light coming in from the window. There clearly is a very strong light coming in from the window because of these long shadows. So like sunset or something like that.
Something's going on in there.
I think that's more the color of the table there is, lighter. Or it's just a stylistic choice.
That could be. This is more from that Little Mermaid series, The Last Mistake. That I didn't see anything in your art station about the story behind this or follow any links to more information, but I did think this was a very cool design, kind of like a reimagining of Sandy from SpongeBob SquarePants.
It does have a little bit of that vibe.
We even have a jellyfish that looks like it's from the world of SpongeBob.
It does,
I'm
yeah.
just projecting this onto this image that probably has nothing to do with that IP, but I just thought that was fun.
Obviously Little Mermaid, right? She's got a green outfit, red hair, like clearly Little Mermaid.
But she's not a mermaid.
No, I'm saying clearly Little Mermaid inspired.
Yeah, I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah. This is a great example of something where we can start to pull from to understand their water. Because
Yeah.
I love this water. The reflection here, super cool.
Is really pretty. This artist actually has a lot in their portfolio that's water-based or by the so either they live near sources of water or were originally from an area that had lots of these, but I feel like they have like a big connection and really like these moments and feels. I have not grown up around this sort of thing, so to me it's like not what I automatically think of as what I want to paint.
Yeah.
But it is really cool.
Yeah, I love it.
This is what I want to paint.
Yeah, they do a lot of these like little scenes is what I would call them. Like,
cozy.
they feel cozy, yeah. I think that's a good
I like how
good
bright
word for
the
it.
plants are back there.
Yeah, I definitely think that if you look at this wood, I think that this is one of their like base gradients that I was talking about earlier, where it goes from lighter to a little more dark and saturated. So much going on in all of these.
Again, I like the force on the perspective and the proportions and the shapes just a little bit. Like, I mean, look at our sink here. It feels
Such a cool design.
Yeah, it's obviously not like perfectly symmetrical and it's not meant to be. And the stove is almost leaning forward towards us a little bit.
Yeah, it just has a unique, non-uniform shape to it.
Yeah, and it makes it so fun and so interesting. The color palette is really, really cool. I like how a lot of this is muted and we have these bright pops of color that are really allowed to shine by how like subdued the walls are.
Yeah, this feels a little older to me. I'm not sure like what the gap is here from some of those first images we were looking at, but you can definitely see the same style and same ideas carry through. Just some of those more recent works, like this feels a bit older to me compared to some of the newer stuff. Like you can see that through line, which I love getting to see, but that newer stuff is just like leveled up. And it's so clear that they've just refined and honed their craft.
This is something we've talked about that we've picked up on from looking at so many artist portfolios. As we go back earlier in their work, we tend to see things become a lot more realistic. And then as we get into their newer stuff, we'll see a lot more stylization. Here we can see like the beginnings of some of that stylization, but a lot of it feels like it's meant to feel a lot more real.
Yeah, I maybe just detailed. Stylization is simplification, right? At the end of the day. So I feel like what kind of happens is the artist gets more confident saying, no, I can leave that out, or no, I can simplify that to explain it to the audience better.
I agree. I think that's very much the case. But this might also be from that same era, and we have that already like very simplified feel, very sharp edges. And it is a very fun little moment.
This feels like it could be on the wall at a ramen shop as a beautiful artwork. Like,
oh yeah,
you're sitting there eating your ramen, and then this is above you.
I would absolutely eat ramen at a place with that kind of art in it.
Me too. This feels like it would be on the wall at an art studio.
Absolutely.
And you're sitting there eating your ramen and you look up and this is on the wall.
The most fun part about this, obviously, is the fact that amongst all this art, we have this very simple dog. Or what I assume is a dog.
Yeah.
It reads like a dog for all that it's so simple.
I love how many artworks they have created that have artworks in them. I think that's so fun. Like this is like, it really speaks to, you know, this person is really passionate about creating art. And they're essentially saying like, hey, I'm bringing focus to the process of creating, which is one of my favorite parts of creating art. Not necessarily the end result, which we appreciate so much, but the process of doing it.
Oh, the process is so gratifying, so delicious, such a worthwhile thing to do, and it's such an important thing to focus on in your own art journey. Don't always focus on the outcome because you're not always going to be happy with that. But as long as you're enjoying the process, like then art remains for you.
The lighting in this is so good.
Isn't that so nice?
Wow.
It's like the end of a day, you've woken up from like an impossibly long nap and nobody else is in the house, so you're making some tea.
There's light coming in behind you through the windows.
You feel really lonely, but it feels kind of good, you know? Like the house is just empty.
Yeah, that is beautiful. I love that. Ooh, I would live there.
I would live there in a heartbeat. I mean, probably pay a lot to have that view of the presumably Empire State Building.
If I had to guess, yeah.
But just so cozy, so artsy. We should put more art on our walls.
We should put more rugs like that in our home. We have a lot of rugs in our home, but I would love something like that.
We're not very bold yet with our interior design.
Not bold, no.
No, we're like hesitant. I feel like we don't want to mess it up. We have got a fairly blank
We've got a good
canvas.
thing going.
Yeah, it reads very, we have a lot of like areas of rest in our home.
Ooh.
But we need areas of excitement. This would be a great piece to hang in the kitchen.
Okay, the purple effect around these knives in the shadowed areas, and then that purple cascading in this shadow with this cool dotted pattern. I love that so much. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I like their gas stove here. Kind of reminds me of our stove a little bit.
It does look like our gas stove.
Yeah. More ships because this artist likes ships. I liked how like big this one felt in the image. It's a little break from what we've been looking at with these like little cozy moments. But then back to the cozy moments and things.
Yeah, you are a big fan, I know, of painting mundane things is what you often refer to it as. As like, oh, I'm just gonna like dump my purse out and then paint that pile of random stuff.
Yeah, I find that process to be so satisfying.
Yeah.
This is so cute. You gotta have a cat.
Gotta have a cat on Drawbli. It's the new rule.
Yeah.
It is the new rule.
And it's a little long-haired cat with a butterfly. I love this. I love the netting across the door. I don't know if that's meant to keep the cat in or the bugs out. Probably not the bugs out.
Yeah, because clearly a bug got in.
But yeah.
That face is so cute.
It is. But this is the best cat picture of them all.
A pretty good cat, not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, hard to compete with this face though.
It is hard to compete with that face.
That is so cute.
It is so cute.
I love these kinds of things with these like really compressed city scenes.
This one has such a cool feel to it. I always wonder like what tips and tricks do people use for like just mass painting all those windows, because I imagine everybody has a slightly different process for that.
Yeah, very true.
Painting in a painting, just beautiful. I think this is based on probably a famous painting of some kind if I had to guess.
Yeah, I recognize it, but I couldn't tell you who or what it is called.
Yeah, I love that we're kind of blurred out with the person looking at it.
Yeah, and then what are maybe pages flowing, like flying in the breeze behind? Something, or some kind of just like, hey, this is a soft edge.
Right. Like we don't focus on this.
Ooh, I like that with all the birds.
Yeah, I thought this was cool. Very cool. A lot of people happening here. I mean, this took obviously a lot of time. Like they clearly like this feel of the day and the sky of this color. So I thought that was worth looking at as well.
Yeah, it's so cool to see their style change and shift as we go back here and continue to look at some of these pieces. I love the focus here. You know, we get this close-up newspaper stand here, the press. This is maybe French, if I had to guess.
Yeah, it looks like they took a trip to France. And then this is cute. They just do so well. I mean, one of my favorite things is a window letting in light on some objects. And that's what this artist likes too.
Yeah.
So I feel like we have a kinship. And then their profile picture is...
This has to be their dog.
Their dog.
If I had to guess.
So I had to include this because I feel like, you know, if I had drawn these loving pictures of my pet, I'd want them included.
I would also want my pet, who is currently sleeping on the chair behind us, included.
She's so cute. Very, very cute. And then here we have some earthy like landscape work. And I'll leave us there with this artist.
Yeah, because there's a lot more to check out. And if you want to check it out at the link below.
And this is the part where we say
Goomba.